It is Saturday, and here I am waiting for Benedicta to finish making soup for us. When you wonder, how does Dennis do it? What kind of foods does he eat? I have to say that ever since I've been married to Benedicta, I've been eating okra soup and usually fufu. But you know, soup is not exactly the best food for most diabetics because of the way they make it, which is they usually include noodles, they often include rice, and they often include flour to kind of thicken up the soup. But if you could take those things away, no noodles, no rice, no flour, you would have something that could probably work for you. And so I have tested and retested Benedicta's soup, and it works beautifully for me. Now, we have it Nigerian style, which is with fufu. And that was a bit of a problem for me because the fufu was made from Quaker oats, and that is going to raise your blood sugar. So I'd always go very light on the fufu. Big on the soup, light on the fufu. But you might say lightning struck my brain at one point, and I realized that you can make fufu in other than the way we'd been making it. And so I found the ingredients of almond flour and what's the other one that you use with it, sweetie?
Flaxseed.
Golden flaxseed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So almond flour, some coconut flour, and some golden flaxseed. And wow, the thing is, I like it better than what Benedicta had making. Don't tell her that because she might feel insulted. Now, she still normally goes for the oatmeal fufu. Haven't made a... What?
Can I still hear you?
Yeah, she says she can still hear me. So I haven't made a total convert of her on this fufu thing yet, although sometimes when she runs out of Quaker oat flour, she'll eat my kind. But somehow she still likes the original better, or her original. Anyway, this is where we get our vitamins. I'll talk some more about it, but I'm looking forward to soup and fufu. And like I've told you before, I'm a boring guy. I stick with things that work, and this works for me, and it tastes good, and tastes really good. You might say great. So this is a blessing, and I know Benedicta loves it as well. So we are always eating soup and fufu. But here's the thing. You may either A, feel like fufu is weird because you're an American or you're British and you just don't eat it. Or B, you say, well, it's too complicated to make. There's all kinds of things you could add to this soup. You could just have this soup and a piece of cheese. You could have this soup and a low-carb muffin. You could have this soup and a low-carb piece of bread of some kind. So it's not like you have to have soup and fufu. If you're Nigerian, then yeah, absolutely, you got to have soup and fufu. But for most people, it can be soup and any low-carb item to go with it. Soup and some broccoli with cheese over it, or soup with some cauliflower and cheese over it. But the soup is filling, and this is where I get my vegetables. So I'll come back and talk a little bit more about it. But this is one of my meals. I'd call it a go-to meal. We eat this all the time. Salad is another one, but this is one of the big ones for us. So if you're wondering, how does Dennis do it? No, this is one of the ways he does it. And we usually have it for lunch. My biggest meal, and this is my biggest, is my lunch meal, and then my dinner meal is less, usually. And the wonderful thing is with this new fufu recipe, with the almond flour, a bit of coconut flour, and some golden flaxseed, I usually eat probably almost twice as much fufu as I did before, because it just doesn't raise my blood sugar. How do I know that? I check with Mike, the glucose meter, and that's what he tells me. So I know I'm safe, and I can enjoy myself, enjoy a big old meal. Sometimes my blood sugar doesn't even rise above 100 after, an hour and 20 minutes after eating this meal. So I thank God for showing me the new fufu recipe and the soup recipe. Just wonderful, and that has never been a problem. So here we have the finished product. Wonderful okra and spinach and chicken soup, along with fufu. Now, this looks like a lot of fufu, but I'm not going to eat all this. A lot of times Benedicta will make about twice as much as I need so that I can go ahead and have it the next day as well. Just put it in the fridge. And so I'm going to, you got Benedicta on the side, but you're not going to see her face because she hasn't had time this morning to make herself up. So you get to see her shoulder, but say hello to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
So there is your greeting from Benedicta. Now your day is complete. And let me go ahead and take a sample of this and see if it's as good as I've been bragging. So here's the way I do it. I will eat 2 or 3 spoonfuls of soup, and then I will make myself a little batch of fufu on my spoon and enjoy that. Well, Benedict, I have to say, that is outstanding soup and fufu. What do you have to say for yourself?
Thank you, sweetie, for the compliment.
She does a great job. And we actually have, I think, another video where we go into a little more detail about this. But anyway, here's where I get my nutrition. I get the spinach, I get okra, along with chicken, and very low carb. So this works for us. Feel free to try it and see if it will work for you. Not all of you are going to have a beautiful, talented Nigerian wife to make it for you. Sorry about that, but there's only one Benedicta, but hopefully you've got a husband or a wife that can help you in the kitchen and give this soup a try. I will come back and test myself about an hour and 20 minutes after eating and see how it affected me, but I already know it's not going to be much of a problem. So we're going to have our soup and fufu, and we're going to sit here and watch Diagnosis Murder on a Saturday afternoon. Saturday, I try to relax a little bit, and it's a little bit more of a casual day. I mean, technically, I'm sort of half retired. I ought to be able to have casual days all the time, but I can't. I've got too much to do. I'm making something like 5 and 6 videos a week, some on my Bible teaching channel, some on the Be Diabetes channel, along with writing articles and other stuff. So no rest for the weary, you might say. All right, well, we'll see you later on. My timer is telling me it's time to test my blood sugar. That is, it's an hour and 20 minutes after I finished my meal, or right around there. And there it goes, beepity beepity. Without these babies, you just are going to forget so many times than I have, and I just don't trust myself. I know you could look at a clock and say, all right, I'll test at such and such a time. It just doesn't work out. So you're going to find out when I do, although by the time you see this, it's probably going to be at least a day later, some cases much longer than that. But let's just see what the soup and the fufu did to my blood sugar. And here we go. Take a stab. I like doing these on camera from time to time just to show you how simple it is. It's really not that big of a deal. I know people say, I can't stand the thought of pricking my finger, but the reality is it's not that big of a deal. Give it a squeeze, get some of that blood out, and try not to touch your finger when you do this. Try just to touch the blood strip, the blood itself. And there we have a 96. Can you believe it? I've had a big meal of soup and fufu, enjoyed myself thoroughly, and the number for a peak is 96. Now, you may say, what were you before the meal? I don't know. I'll have to confess, usually when I show my reading before the meal and after, it's for your sake. For my own purposes, I'm just concerned about the peak. I don't really care whether my pre-meal reading was 98, 105, 88. It hardly matters to me. What I'm looking for is how high will I peak. But with a peak of 96, probably I wasn't much different before I started in on that meal. Now, there's a word for meals like this that give you such good numbers as a peak. And that word is, it's a 2-word phrase, old friend. This soup and fufu for me is an old friend. Now, maybe you don't like it. And if you don't, then I wouldn't force you to eat it. But you can find some old friends. And once you find them, you just repeat them frequently throughout your life. I expect I will be eating soup and fufu for years to come. I've been doing it for years, and it just works for me. Why should I eat something like, let's say, a pizza and drink a Coke with it when it's going to raise my blood sugar over 200, when I can have this meal with some water And then I did have a little coffee afterwards. And it was and it's a 96 for a peak, an hour and 20 minutes after eating. And for me, I know that if it's that much, that's the number after eating at an hour and 20, I'm not likely that it's going to go up much. So find friends, old friends. Now, I've tested this enough. I just don't normally need to test after a meal like this. Normally, I would not. I would just go about my business. Some people act like, oh, you test all the time. I really don't test as much as you think I do. And the reason is because I will do it for your sake. For my sake, I already knew this was a safe meal. I already knew this was an old friend, but now you know it as well. So find yourself some old friends, whatever they turn out to be. If you're not into fufu, no big deal, but you got to find some old friends that don't spike blood sugar. Some people gasp and act like, oh, this keto diet, this low-carb diet, it's so evil, it's so dangerous. Do you not know what it's doing to you? Yeah, I know what it's doing to me. It's given me a 96 for a blood sugar peak when I could eat another food and I would have a 200 for a blood sugar peak. So yeah, I know what it's doing for me. It's keeping my numbers down, which means I'm less likely to get liver damage, less likely to get kidney damage, less likely to have a heart attack, less likely to have a stroke. And less likely to have inflammation. And that means no rheumatoid arthritis and all the other stuff. So yeah, I know what it's doing to me. It's keeping me safe and healthy. So again, find some old friends. This could be one of them, or maybe not. But in any case, there's plenty of keto and low-carb recipes around. You can find some. Don't be lazy. And don't try to rely on the same food day after day for a year. Someone wrote in, Dr. Bernstein said he sometimes has done this. Well, he's a type 1 that wants absolute, perfectly tight control. And, that's fine for him. Far be it from me to criticize him. I think he's a great, great man. But for me, I don't have to quite be that exacting. And so I do have different meals. But Benedicta loves this soup and fufu. I love it as well. Why not enjoy it and give her a little taste of Nigeria? Okay, that's it for now. Hope you will click on the thumbs up button, show YouTube that you like it so they'll promote it more. And I hope you'll also subscribe. This Sunday series is all about how I do it, how I eat, and the kind of foods that I eat, and the way that I do things. And I think it can be a blessing to a lot of people. If you've recently been diagnosed with diabetes and you've just discovered this channel, let me recommend that you go to our uploads page, which will give you access to every diabetic video we've posted since we began. As you work your way through all our videos, I believe you'll find the help you need. A link to our uploads page is in the description.